The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The Three Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina. Ooh, welcome to the Three Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only Who is the Halftime Show podcast. I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser as usual. Plenty to get to as the Riders beat the Ottawa Red Blacks in a game that, I don't know about you, but feels like was an eternity ago. I legitimately had a moment this week where I logged into the sort of server that hosts this podcast.
Yes.
And I saw the last episode was the episode where we talked about the loss to the Elks. And I was like, what happened to our episode talking about the Red Blacks loss? What was the last game? I was like, wait a minute. No, that was the last game. We haven't talked about that game yet. So I don't know. It's just been, it hasn't been particularly like that crazy or weird since then, but it just feels like that game was like 3 weeks ago already for some reason.
No, I have the same feeling because I had a brief moment tonight where I'm like, oh yeah, I told Lacey and the kids, yeah, I'm recording tonight. And I'm like, wait a minute, which game am I talking about? Was there a bye week? Like I don't. I think it's because that game was so. It was like the buttery toast of a game. It happened. It filled a need. Nothing spectacular about it, but it filled your tummy.
Like really good bread toasted with butter is incredible, though.
Right, as this game could have been. But this was like the kids getting up, wanting a little toast before they go to school. Like, this was not your really good, fresh, homemade bread. This was the stuff that you get from Costco that's sitting in the freezer for 2 weeks, right? It just kind of happened.
Yeah, that's probably a fair way to discuss that. So we will get into that game and some few other odds and ends from around the team right now. But here we are again, about a month and a half out from the Grey Cup.
Yes.
And for the second time in the last few years, we once again don't know who the halftime show is. And this seems to be a weirdly prairie thing. Because in Regina, at this point, we had no idea who the halftime show was. I believe it wasn't until like the last week of the regular season, maybe the first week of the playoffs, when they finally announced the 2/3 of Florida Georgia Line or whatever was showing up. So I guess at this point we can only congratulate the other third of Florida Georgia Line for being this year's halftime show, because at this point I guess that must be who's left.
That's about it. What's Jess Moskaluk up to? Other Saskatchewan country music favorites, right? And Ryan Ballantyne said it best before, that if you're going to play the wait to the last second game, you have to make sure it's somebody that's going to knock your socks off and isn't 2/3 of Florida Georgia Line, right? Otherwise, it just kind of looks like...
Yeah, there is a theory to holding on to it if it is someone that is big and is going to create a lot of buzz for your event at the last minute to try to really get it over the finish line and get people excited for it, because otherwise you might as well just announce this thing at least 2 months ago to sort of slowly build up to it.
Well, and I think too, with Winnipeg not having a great season, maybe they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna virtually be assured to be there as we have been every other year, so maybe we'll just wait on the halftime act. Maybe we'll just have a guy come out with a ukulele or something. But now it's looking abundantly clear, like the Blue Bombers will not be taking part in this game, that they might be in scramble mode, finding somebody to make sure that you don't have the embarrassment of lots of empty seats during the Grey Cup.
Well, I mean, the game is already like 90% sold or something, so I don't think they're too concerned. Whether people show up or not will be a whole other thing, I guess. But
and see, that's the thing. I feel like the halftime show in the prairies, you're always going to sell, right?
Yeah, so I think that's playing part of it is they don't need to use the halftime show to try to sell the tickets because it's not officially sold out yet, but probably pretty darn close.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's more, I think you got to get somebody there now that if Winnipeg isn't playing in it, which is looking clear and clear, somebody that's going to keep bums in seats.
I don't know if I'd say that, but I say it's a weird year where I would say their chances are probably just as good as anyone else's, quite frankly.
No, that's fair. Minus BC. Like, if they can avoid BC, they've got a chance, right? To me, it's strange. It looks very CFL-ish to not have one named, and it makes you wonder. But now I have a conspiracy theory for you, Joel Gasson.
Go on.
It's going to be Taylor Swift. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Couple reasons. She said she wouldn't do the Super Bowl because Travis Kelce and his now very famous dong are still active in the NFL. She said I won't do it until he retires. She also said she wouldn't do it unless, she gets paid, which is something the Super Bowl doesn't do. Fun fact, Super Bowl, the artists are literally, they're given a production budget, but not actually paid to be there. It's all about exposure.
Well, I remember reading that the weekend when he did his halftime show, he actually put like $1 million of his own money into it.
Yeah, 100% to make it look
and
awesome.
He made it all back, and he made like a huge profit like the next day. So it was obviously worth it. But yeah,
still, it's something that you're like, how much bigger can Taylor Swift get?
I remember at one point, and they've obviously backed off on it. At one point, the NFL was discussing charging the artist for performing at the halftime Super Bowl.
Yes, I absolutely, I do remember that actually. So
which, in terms of North American sports, would be the only sort of organization that could pull that off.
Oh, 100%. Could you imagine the CFL trying to do something like that?
No.
Like, it would be quite, well, they may still end up with 2/3 of Florida Georgia line, but so this leads to my theory that, if she plays the Grey Cup halftime show, she would be paid, probably not anywhere near as much as Taylor Swift is normally paid, and it doesn't matter that Travis Kelce's not in the game, because obviously Travis Kelce's not coming to the CFL. So maybe that's why Winnipeg's holding off on announcing it, right? Just let all the Swifties in. Make it a big T-Swift party.
I mean, Zach Collaros could be in the wedding party.
Oh, shit. I forgot that connection.
Like, he is good buddies with Travis Kelce, so I mean, it's not. He's definitely going to be at the wedding, I would assume, unless they have it like in the middle of CFL season, then maybe not. But though I can't wait.
He'd still be here. They'd
probably find a way. But and I would be here for it. I think it would be incredible to watch and listen to the old school sort of boomers get mad about a guy going to someone's wedding.
Yes,
a week of a game. The week of like a week 3 game against the Ottawa Redblacks or something.
Where Chris Traveler can beat you with only completing 3 passes anyways, because you're that bad.
Yeah.
Which, it's a realistic possibility. So there you go. There's the connection. What could potentially be, if they make it, probably Zach's last time playing in a Grey Cup. His pal, his future, bro's wife is all of a sudden playing the Grey Cup halftime show, and nobody could fault them for not announcing it. So that is my completely serious tinfoil hat theory that it's going to be Taylor Swift. On another note, what I think is much more likely to happen, and I looked up right before we started recording, Nickelback has no tour dates in November at all.
Well, you said there was one in Phoenix, wasn't there?
Yeah, one in Phoenix on November the 7th, which is nowhere near the Grey Cup. They're playing some sort of festival at the ballpark where the Diamondbacks play.
Okay.
But that to me,
that feels somewhat more realistic for sure.
Well, I think it feels more realistic, and I think there's
anything feels more realistic than Taylor Swift, let's be honest.
I don't know. The evidence...
suddenly the CFL lands, forget the hottest musician, perhaps the hottest pop culture, anything on the planet. Yeah, okay.
Right. Who knows? Stuart Johnson might have some connections, right? He might have told Zach, listen, Zach, go on all the performance enhancers you need to next year. Just make sure that we get Tay-Sway into the Grey Cup halftime show. But I think in terms of bands that are out there that you could basically pop out there this late and people not be woof or not be like, hey, that's all you could get, would probably be Nickelback.
Yeah, there's probably some we can't think of off the top of our heads right now. I'm especially bad at this because I don't remember much about music these days, and I don't know who's popular right now and who would be like, oh yeah, this is a big get. When the NFL announced that Bad Bunny was doing this year's Super Bowl halftime show, the only reason I knew about it is because he's done some matches fairly recently in WWE. Otherwise, yeah, I would have been one of those guys who would have no clue who this guy was. But unlike most of those other people, I would have been perfectly fine with it because I know that these halftime shows are not something that is geared towards me, the football fan.
No, certainly. I knew Bad Bunny more from his work in Happy Gilmore 2 than I did from his musical work. So I was just like, oh, He must be a bigger deal than I thought. That was my take when it's like, oh, Bad Bunny's playing the Super Bowl halftime show. He must be a bigger deal than what I know about him. He's not just the caddy in Happy Gilmore 2. So
no, he is not. He's also a former, I believe. Which one did he win? I think he won the 24/7 title once when WWE had that thing. I think they put that on at one point. And then he's been off and on with some different feuds throughout his time. He actually put on a banger of a match in Puerto Rico in a street fight with Damian Priest. It was great.
So he's like not just like these other celebrities that show up and get speared at Royal Rumble. Like
no, like he is amongst the new generation who like grew up watching wrestling like we did, and legitimately when they show up to do it, want to do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I learned something today.
Yeah, like is he going to be in like a real like technically strong match? No, but put him in a street fight where you can just kind of get away with shit. Yeah, like it was a banger. It was great, and it helped that it was in his home country and everyone was going nuts for him, obviously, right? But
so we all know what's going to happen is he's going to come out there for the Super Bowl halftime show. He's going to start his set. The lights are going to go down, and then glass shatter, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I mean, it's Winnipeg, so it'll probably be Chris Jericho.
Yes.
And because I don't think he's up to much these days. So, in terms of wrestling, I think he's running out the clock on his AEW contract. And there were rumors swirling at one point about him coming back to WWE, but I honestly hope that isn't the case because he's done.
Bro looks like bro's
big fan of Chris Jericho back in the day. Now, not so much.
Considering the fact that neither of us can judge anybody's physique, nor are we suggesting that any of us are in good shape.
Yeah, it's not even a physique thing. It's just the matches just aren't good anymore. He's still got the mic, so maybe he can be a manager or something. But his in-ring days should be over.
What was Chris Jericho's band's name? Is it Fozzy?
Yes. I believe they're still going.
Here we go. Okay. Winnipeg Grey Cup halftime show. The Watchmen, BTO, and Fozzy. Just pure Winnipeg.
Is Trooper doing the pregame show?
Oh no! I still have, the number of times I've seen Trooper just from being in Canadian radio is far, far, far too many. Did you know that you can actually book them to play your wedding?
Oh, I believe it. I believe they will show up anywhere you give them like $20.
They played and actually put on a pretty banger of a show in Atikokan, Ontario. I'm not even kidding. This is not exaggerating.
Yeah. I believe if you are of a certain era, it was a fun show to attend. There's no doubt about that.
Or the fact that, Atikokan, Ontario gets literally nobody or anything, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, a band I've actually heard of is playing here?
Them and Blue Rodeo?
Blue Rodeo. Yeah, Blue Rodeo played Atikokan. I think they did. I'm almost certain they did.
Did they get a key to the city? That's the question.
They did not. Or at least it's not listed.
Atikokan's not big enough to have a mention on the keys of the city list.
Ow, now I need to somehow get myself on that list. Longtime freelance broadcaster deserves key to the city. I mean,
mentions city every chance he can on various podcasts and media.
That
should be worth something, right? Like, honestly, I'd never heard of Atikokan, Ontario until I met you. So, I mean,
and the people have, and actually, it's funny. We had a customer, a small world customer buying a Jeep that a pretty good darts player is out of Atikokan, and she is also a pretty good darts player, and she tried to say the name, almost got it right. Give her all the credit in the world. Blue Rodeo, Atikokan. I'm certain they played.
Surely.
It is okay. This is not as easy to find as I thought it was going to be. So we might have
to circle back on this one, as they say.
This is a text my mom and wait to hear from it. Let's see if we can get up. Okay. We'll get a Don Fraser update at some point on this episode.
Sounds good. We can tell you who did not put on a banger of a show in Atikokan this week, and that was the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I don't even know how to describe that game. It was bad. It wasn't entertainingly bad. It was just bad.
Yeah, 100%.
The important thing is they got the win, and we talked about it before. They had to get the win. They got the win. So we will get into that and more. But as always, John, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
In the glass this week, fittingly to numb the pain of discussing that numbing game is Pile of Bones Double White IPA. I have found the co-op that is directly down the street from my work somehow has them priced at like normal white IPA prices. So it's like you're getting the double white for the same price as the normal white, and it's arguably more delicious and more boozy. So I've been going with that. Yes, confirmation from Don Fraser. Blue Rodeo did in fact play at Atikokan, Ontario.
Sounds about right. I mean, if anyone else was going to, it was them, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm glad we figured that out so quickly.
Yeah. Mom's absolutely on the ball.
Fair enough. For me, sort of a bit of a live tasting. I've never had this beer before. It's a Trans-Canada brewing collaboration between Dominion City, which is one of my favorite brewers in the whole country. They're based out of Ottawa. They worked with High Key in Saskatchewan. They worked with a bunch of breweries across the country to brew this glorious and free IPA.
Oh, nice.
And it's delicious. That's really all I can say about it.
More presents from Mike. Is that where yours came from?
No, I brought it home from work.
Oh, fantastic. Shout out to, by the way, listener, Mike Dennis, thank you very much stopping by with some beers from Northern Ontario for me. There is not a chance in hell they were surviving till this recording.
Yeah, that's right. No, this one came from High Key, so.
Oh, interesting. Hey,
so they basically, I think Dominion City basically developed this recipe and shared it with a bunch of brewers across the country. In Saskatchewan, it happened to be High Key that made this beer, and this was sort of at the height of the elbows up thing before we decided that we didn't want to do that anymore, I guess. So
yeah, I guess not, right?
Anyway,
we'll leave the political speak out.
We will get to that another day, maybe. Hopefully not. The Riders did not have their elbows up in that game, that's for sure.
Oof.
As it's one of those games where, yes, they won. And I know we talked about before that game that it was vitally important that it doesn't matter. It didn't matter how they won. It didn't matter what happened as long as they picked up the win, because it's the point of the year where it's now results over process. Like I think we can firmly say that at this point going forward. And I mean, they won, but they certainly didn't leave anyone feeling that good about it after the game.
No.
And I think it's fair to question where this team is at and where they're going, and whether they truly have the juice to get this over the finish line at this point. And I understand that there's clearly a certain degree of vanilla going on right now, because they have a playoff spot clinched. They're on the verge of clinching a home playoff game. They're on the verge of hosting the West Final. So there's no need to really push the buttons too hard right now. There is certainly some of that going on. But the execution still just was not good in that game.
No,
specifically only from the offense. Like, the defense was great. The defense was the only reason that game stayed close. It was the only reason that the Riders really had a chance to win was that defense. Andrew Brown, for some reason, turning into a complete moron and not knowing how to read defenses anymore, apparently.
Right, exactly. After shredding so many teams this year, Drew Brown just looking decidedly average.
Yeah, the wheels have fallen off quickly for him there, and I don't know if a new offense is going to fix that. And quite frankly, I don't know where the Ottawa Redblacks go at quarterback next year, because there is not sort of the next guy in waiting like there usually is in the CFL right now. So they may just have to run it back, or maybe, Dustin Crum was showing signs of life, so maybe he becomes the guy. But anyway.
Summer's hotter weather is finally here, but don't let hair loss also make you sweat. Regrow hair with help from Hims. They provide access to personalized treatment so you can see thicker, fuller hair in just 3 to 6 months. Get started from the comfort of home. Fill out an intake form and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you for free. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Hail Mary. That's HIMS.com/Hail Mary for personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/Hail Mary. Individual results may vary. Based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
This is not a game where I think you're feeling good about the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the state of where they're at after losing a game, frankly, they should have won like 56-2.
Oh, absolutely. You get 3 turnovers in, what was that, the first half they had 3 turnovers, or was it just after into the second half where they got
I think there was 2 in the first half and 1 in the second half, but don't quote me because that game was 3 weeks ago.
That's just how it feels. You're absolutely right. Dustin Crum, 3 interceptions. I can't think the last time that a team with such a split in record ends up with 3 interceptions and doesn't do anything for the whole game, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, Trevor Harris is becoming the largest statistical anomaly that's out there, because you look at the stats, like I'm pulling up the stats after watching
The stats are fine, yeah.
all of that game, and you're like, oh, 341 and a touchdown, right? When realistically, and I will die on this hill, that if AJ Ouellette does not run back on the, clearly they're not calling it an interception, they must have called it a fumble.
Yeah,
I'm guessing, because Trevor
I think it was a fumble on the play, technically, yeah.
Right, so technically Trevor Harris fumbles right into the arms of somebody.
Because there was never a forward motion on the throw, so.
Right, okay. That whatever they want to say to make Trevor Harris.
It was a turnover, regardless, yeah.
Regardless.
And to be clear, we'll get into it in a second, but I don't even blame Trevor Harris on the play. It was just a dumb play call to even throw it in the first place, but anyway.
Oh, 100% it was. I mean, I get it. AJ Ouellette was having one of those grindy last season AJ Ouellette games.
Well, I mean, his numbers are skewed a little bit because he ran the short yardage, so he had at least...
Oh, yeah.
He had probably 10 basic quarterback sneaks in there, give or take.
Which, by the way...
That certainly... that certainly skews his numbers a lot for yards per carry.
Right. No, you're bang on that. And it's funny, this game was so long ago, I'd forgot about that, because I remember making a mental note of wanting to discuss how much I love him doing that.
I will admit he's not as good as Tommy Stevens, but he can handle it, yes.
Certainly. I mean, without Tommy Stevens being there, rather than throwing Trevor Harris to the Wolves
or Jack Cone or Jack Cone or anything like that, yeah.
Right. Training a guy who's not really good at it, give it to your meanest physical running back and let him cook, right? But so you take away those 8 to 10 third and 1, second and 1 carries. And so you only really gave AJ Ouellette the ball less than 10 times. Mm-hmm. And strictly based on the eye test, he looked like one of the only guys that gave a shit. Like, it just seemed like even like looking at the sidelines, just seemed like the energy was low. It seems like these guys wanted to be in bed. Like it just, and again, I'm strictly eye testing this, but they didn't look inspired. They didn't look motivated. They didn't look fired up, which, you win essentially if you win this game, which they did their job and did, thanks to AJ Ouellette, maybe with the defensive play of the year for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you have a chance to basically put yourselves in cruise control for the rest of the season by winning this one. And they came out very uninspired. They came out very flat. Like,
especially a week after they lost the dud against the Edmonton Elks.
No, 100%.
Had they beaten the Elks, and then all of a sudden you're traveling across the country on a short week, you could be like, okay, I can see why this happened. But considering the circumstances of the week before, they had to overcome that, and they just seemingly didn't.
No, certainly. And it's strange to me to watch a team that, with a win here, you can seriously look at resting guys here on out. Dumb math, we were just looking at it, and I am going to go with this. If they get a point against Toronto, so they could tie Toronto this Friday night, and they will be hosting the West Final and getting the first round bye. Right. Even if Calgary is able to, if Calgary ties or loses to Hamilton, same thing. West Final is secured at New Mosaic Stadium. You'd think you'd come out with maybe piss and vinegar until you've got that like totally in the bag. Yep. Like, to me, it's shocking to see the lack of give a shit in the team in this last week's game, and now I'm curious to see what they're going to be like this week. Like, they're clearly, I know the whole thing, you got to look at it, one game at a time. They're clearly looking ahead to the postseason, and maybe doing so just a little bit too early. They're taking their foot off the gas. I mean, Calgary's completely imploded somehow, so they might get a free pass on playing like dog shit the last 2 games, but it's a worrying sign to see that when you can lock up your season and basically make your last 2 games of the season optional, that you come out and just play such uninspired football. Now, again, I'm strictly talking about the offense. Yeah. The defense looked great. They put Drew Brown in a blender, picked him off 3 times, and they're the only reason they had a chance to win this game.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about me from the defense was it wasn't the classic game we saw for them where they've been so good this year. Like they weren't in his face all night. They weren't pounding him. They weren't getting a ton of pressure. And it was just basically, okay, we're just going to sit back, give you different looks, do different things, and just let you throw the ball to us and let you make the mistakes. And he basically did it. And
right.
that's generally not what you want to see out of a guy that you hope is your starting quarterback. It's one thing to get picked off a bunch when you're behind, losing by a lot, or if you're just constantly getting pounded all night, you can be like, okay, yeah, that sort of thing's going to happen in a game like that. In a game where the Riders didn't really get much of a sniff at Drew Brown, they did more so with Dustin Crum, because clearly once Dustin Crum came in, they said, okay, get after this guy.
Yeah, 100%. And yet Dustin Crum still managed to rip off a 12 for 16 and I thought we were going to see another famous Crum back.
Well, here's the other thing that impressed me about the defense was they were able to avoid the Crum back by keeping him contained.
Yes, 100%.
Because we know the Crum back happens when he starts those legs. When those legs start going, that's when he really gets dangerous. To his credit, he has improved immensely at throwing the football and being an actual quarterback. There is no question about that. I'm actually intrigued by him as an actual quarterback prospect in this league now, where I don't think I would have said that a year ago, definitely not a few months ago.
Oh, definitely.
So I definitely feel that way about Dustin Crum now. And so, yeah, he put together a few passing plays. He had a couple of good drives, but the momentum never truly really shifted to the Red Blacks because they just didn't let him, bust out for 50, 40 yards all of a sudden. It was just, I think he had very few yards rushing, which sort of helped them contain the game and keep them in the driver's seat despite the way the night went.
No, certainly. And I'm with you. I was impressed by Dustin Crum. Who knows what he's going to be? I mean, Ottawa's essentially... Ottawa looked like the team playing for a playoff berth, not the team playing in garbage time. Ottawa just got a terrible performance out of their starting quarterback, which really set them back. But I'm still fascinated by the unwillingness to use A.J. Ouellette more.
Yeah.
I joked in our preamble here to our listeners that I thought the thing that really showed that Ouellette completely gave a shit about this game was him chasing down the Ottawa player on the fumble recovery.
Yes.
Right? And it's almost like his legs
it was low key the play of the game.
Oh, 100%.
Was him able to get that tackle because then the Red Blacks stalled and they had to settle for 3 and kept the Riders up by 7 with the 2 minutes to go, whatever it was.
100%, right? And even as bad as bad of a night of kicking as that was on both sides, I still feel like Ottawa at least ties that game if that score happens. But hey, maybe that's why you keep AJ fresh so he can play some defensive back. But
I mean, probably not. But yeah.
But I mean, there had to be some rationale for just not using him. I get it. He's running the short yardage. Those are absolutely tough yards.
Yeah, and I know Ottawa. Their one thing they do really well is stop the run. So obviously they didn't like what they saw up front and basically just decided not to run a whole lot. And
exactly.
You could poke holes in that. I question that as a theory still, considering the way the rest of the offense looked. Like if Trevor Harris is looking good and is dealing, cool. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe don't, give AJ a bit of a night off, so to speak, while he's still playing. But when the offense is struggling, especially, I think you have to lean on your best player, and that is currently AJ Ouellette.
Oh, certainly. It's not Trevor Harris anymore. I know there's some people that are out there saying that perhaps he should be considered for MOP. No. Trevor Harris
shouldn't be in the picture right now. I don't think at all.
Trevor Harris either needs to get into rhythm or he needs to sit down the next 2 weeks. Whatever he needs to do to not look like... Beginning of the season, he was looking like, Tom Brady. And looking like, he was going to cruise and have this great, like, Tom Brady's last year in Tampa, accurate short passes. But I'm always reminded of a quote, and this came from Peyton Manning, that he talked about... Just as you and I joke about being, 40 and almost 40 and how, it hurts to get out of bed in the morning and stuff like that. I get it. Trevor Harris is an elite professional athlete, but the body doesn't respond the way it used to, especially as it starts getting a little colder. Right. And that was one thing that Peyton Manning said specifically when he retired, that, yeah, in cold weather, like it really started to hurt. And now you have Trevor Harris, who looks tired, I think is the best description of it. Now heading into cold weather games when it matters the most. I mean, climate change has bought him an extra couple weeks of warm ball, but again, statistically, he's fine. I just don't know if I count on Trevor Harris, especially with the embarrassment of riches he has at receiver, to get the job done when it matters. I mean, yeah. I'm scared about that for this team. And the special teams play. Like, the kicking is just, oh my God. Like, if you thought Brett Lowther was bad, have a taste of Campbell Fair. Holy shit, that was terrible.
That was certainly an interesting experience. And I will say, I think there is a certain degree of trying to build guys back into this lineup. I think, you talk about Sam Emilus and Keon Schaefer-Baker and these guys who essentially haven't really played all year. And now they're being inserted back into the lineup with a team that has, in an offense that is progressed to the point where we're at week 19 in the season right now or whatever it is. And it's just, that's a lot to ask of those guys to be at the level that everyone else is and then try to make it all fit together. And it's a tough spot to be. It's like, you don't not put those guys in the lineup, but at the same time, guys like Joe Robustelli and these other players who are no longer in the lineup were rolling. Yeah, so it's 100%. Like, where do you strike that balance? And it feels like, okay, after a decent start at Joe is, having the post NFL slide, and the other two guys, mentioned Keon Schaefer-Baker and Sam Emilus have barely played this year. So there's three of your starting five receivers are kind of trying to find their groove again in the final few weeks of the regular season. And I think that is showing a little bit in the offense too right now. I guess the good news is they have room and time to play with that to hopefully get them up to speed in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, as long as you get a point in Toronto on Friday. Or at home, home on Friday night, right? Or Calgary the next day goes out and ties Hamilton. Really, I just want to see two ties. I'm not going to lie. Like, let's get some sicko stuff in here, right? But
I mean, at this point, the Sickos Committee podcast might be the halftime show at the Grey Cup.
Think they'd let us come on?
Maybe.
I mean, they'd have a bigger audience than just about anyone else that I think they could get, minus Nickelback.
They'd have a pretty big audience. Yeah, there's no question about that. The other sort of concern I definitely have for this team right now is the secondary. They played well. They hung up in that game well enough against Ottawa, but they are a walking wounded bunch right now. Tavon Campbell has once again been ruled out for the coming game. And, the thing is just not going well. Roland Milligan Jr. also out for that game against Toronto. Marcus Sayles has kind of been fighting something for a bit. And, I mean, against the Toronto team with Jared Daggy at quarterback, maybe they can get away with it and they'll be okay. But this is probably, for me, after the offense, my biggest concern for this team is what the heck is going to go on with the secondary, considering the number of pieces they're currently missing.
Oh, certainly. And we saw that before with how thin the depth is in the secondary, right? Like, that's why I'm worried the last time we saw a lot of big pieces missing in the secondary is when you saw guys thrown out there that shouldn't be out there, and that led to a loss. I mean, they might still, again, you can still back your way into the division title here. It's not completely out of reach, especially the way that Calgary's playing. But to me, it's just, you're kind of opening up the door against a really bad Toronto team that's out of it to, again, have your second straight bad game and not build on anything.
Yeah, I mean, you are, but I think at the same time, like, if these guys aren't right, there's certainly also no reason to put them in the roster. I think at this point, if we're at week 3 of Tavon Campbell not playing, this is clearly not just a minor nagging injury. Like, something relatively significant has happened here. So it's fair to rest him. Roland Milligan Jr., obviously, we saw him get hurt in that game against Ottawa. That's a tough one. Not that he's having the kind of year he had last year, but he's still obviously a very good player that is difficult to be without. And, I mean, you look at the secondary and the issues there, and they've kind of had some blow-ups throughout the year, and now they're missing guys, and that BC Lion offense is looming. And that is suddenly extremely worrisome if you're a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan.
No, and like we talked about with Winnipeg, to me, BC is the team that you need to avoid in the postseason. Like, it's just, I know all roads go through BC, or all roads will probably go through Regina, but you're really hoping that Calgary or Winnipeg are able to do something stupid and unseed them, so you're seeing Calgary or Winnipeg at New Mosaic, because you're right, like, BC has got it. So as we're talking about the Riders offense working in new guys and not figuring it out, not playing with their top guys, the fact is right now BC has got it figured out, and they are just an absolute offensive wagon. So really hoping that these guys are healthy come the end of the season. I get it. You don't want to push a guy out there on this game, because it's this game should probably be meaningless. I don't see Calgary ripping off a 3-0 here to end the season, but you also need to start, at some point, you need to put your foot back on the gas and start getting some momentum, right? Like, we all know when you go into the playoffs, you need to be hot, right? A loss to, you lost to Edmonton in a game you absolutely played your worst game of the year. Offense didn't play much better against Ottawa. You barely squeaked out a win against the only team eliminated from the postseason right now. And now you face a Toronto team that you're giving them some life by, the thinnest position on this team is going to be exposed, right? Yeah. So
the only thing, you hope is we've seen the BC Lions struggle outdoors in the winter, right? Like, they are a very sheltered team out there in BC. Like, yes, I know they say 100%. They practice outside and all that, but it's just not the same when you get to play in BC Place Stadium all year. So, hope if you're a Rider fan, basically you can talk about whether they could potentially, maybe you get lucky and they're on the road in the West Semi and stub their toe, or maybe coming to Mosaic late in November will be enough. Though they have some pieces this year that I don't know if that's going to be the threat. It's going to be a very fascinating playoffs, because I think, as we talked about earlier, this is one of those years, and it doesn't happen all that often. It's usually one or two teams where you're like, okay, yeah, they're in, but realistically, do they really have a chance? And probably not. I think this could be one of those rare years where, unless Calgary really finishes out this slide heading into the playoffs, you could probably make an argument for any team that makes the playoffs to win the Grey Cup. Even the Calgary Stampeders, if they slide their way into this, VA can get on enough of a heater to get them through it sometimes. So, the Riders may go into the playoffs with the best record in the league, but I think their shot is basically just about as even as anyone else.
No, certainly. And you still have, and John Hodge wrote it on 3 Down Nation, the way that the Edmonton Elks can still sneak into the postseason. And as a chaos lover, I don't even care if it costs my Blue Bombers a playoff spot. I need to see that.
Well, I think what we all want to see, and I think is sort of the most likely outcome, would be a potential win and you're in game between the Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Elks in the final week of the regular season.
Oh, that'd be so good. Bonus playoffs are always the best.